Simply Lesa. My other name, in case you don't know that, or you're hunting for me on Facebook or something, my other name is Lesa Neesmith. And that is my ex husband's name. That was my married name. My maiden name was Boscheman. And I grew up in Elliott, Maine, of all places. And Elliott is not what it used to be. It was cold this morning here. So, welcome. Sorry, I was wiggling the laptop around. I want to tell you first off that I do have the headset in, so the microphone should be good. Can somebody let me know that you can hear me? And then the other thing I really want you to know, just as soon as that's possible, that is that I've noticed that my cell phone signal here at the cabin comes and goes a little bit. So if you have any trouble, oh, wonderful. Thank you for telling me that. So if there's any glitches, don't worry about it being on your end. It might be on my end with the fact that I do have the WeBoost hooked up and I'm running this on the laptop through the hotspot on my cell phone, which they've allowed me now to use my phone and my laptop together. So, welcome to another Sunday Live with all of you who are the Keep Living Simply gang now. I guess I'm going to call you that. So, good morning. Who's out here? Let's see. Whoops. I really wish that YouTube would make this so that when I click on the tab for the live chat, that it would just stay up and not go away. So good morning. That looked like Cheryl Davis. Good morning, Iris. It's 3 generations. Van Girl, hi. I know people like you to say hi to them on these things. Pseudonym, yep. Shane, hi Shane, good morning. Okay, say hi to everybody. Visit amongst yourselves when things are boring or whatever over here on my end. I'm back from Baja. I'm freckled like crazy. I got sunburned really bad. You probably can't see it anymore, but I was blistered and peeling, but I'm so freckled. And when I put that thumbnail out this morning for the live, it was cold here. It was before I had started the fire when I opened this up so y'all could be waiting. So I had to put my jacket on and start a fire in the wood stove. It was in the 40s inside when I woke up. And I mean, it was fine. I'm warm enough. So I just feel like there's so much I'm still processing and all. So let's do the little housekeeping stuff. Remember that I like when you put 3 uppercase Q's in front of your questions because that way I can see them easier and I can try to speak to your questions. I like to give you as many answers to things you're dealing with as well. I want to share the wisdom that God has provided me in my life and the things that I've been through. I would love to share those things with you all and with the world in some way. Let's see. Please hit thumbs up for liking this. The more of those thumbs up, it really does do something to the algorithms and it helps YouTube to show us off more. To be honest with you all, I try to be honest all the time. I'm not perfect at that. I'm a human being, but I try really hard to be honest with everybody. And I have not gotten a check from YouTube since June. So even the super chats and super thanks that you all have sent to me as donations to help me with a windproof microphone, gasoline for my trip and whatever, I still haven't got that money yet. So there are ways. I had written a nice description for this, and then there was a glitch and I lost the nice description. So eventually I'll get that edited. But I do have a Cash App account now, and I still have PayPal Me. Everything I do is Simply Lesa. Instagram is Simply Lesa underscore, but everything basically is Simply Lesa. Just don't forget to spell Lesa, Lesa. Yeah, thumbs up, like, subscribe, all those things everybody says on YouTube. But it is the way that it helps YouTube know that I'm actually out here doing something. And I don't really understand why these lives don't get more attention and stuff. But I am going to be working on trying to do more editing stuff because life is evening out. And I've got a presentation to put together for my teaching at Overland Expo West, which is coming up in May. It's not May yet. We got a couple more weeks. And then, oh, I just found out about a Zuki Palooza. I'm going to go to that. That's going to be somewhere near Heber Overgaard on the upper part of the Mogollon Rim in the end of May. I'm going to go to that. And then I'll be headed to Oregon. There's a bunch of stuff going on. I contacted Brian Gifford about the interview he wanted to do with me, and he told me to get a hold of Bob Wells again, so I need to send Bob an email and see how that's going to work out. But anyway, so please, please, yes, please hit all those likes, subscribes, and thumbs up, even as we're talking today. That does somehow help things. And hopefully I can figure out how to because I'm not as scrambled with my rig, I'm not feeling as stressed with my property and the cabin, and it's easy to come back here now, and to come back here and relax. Even with an elk who, jumped the fence and then busted a piece of the fence out. Strong guy, let me just say. I'm saying busted a piece of the fence out. The only way he could get out, I don't think he could his hoof prints were huge. So I don't think he could get enough space to jump back out of the fence. So he went and tested the fence everywhere he could until he found a weak spot. He actually pushed screws out of a 4x4 to open a place in the fence so he could get out. And so it wasn't bad. I mean, it was like hardly any damage at all. And there's no wind damage. I know that this has been a normal to us people who have been in this area winter, right? People, old timers in the area would say that this past winter was a normal one in this area. But for newbies here, it was very windy and other things, but that's pretty normal. And there was no weather damage to my property. Of course, when there's a lot of wetness and whatever, I lose some of the silt because I'm kind of in a watershed area or close to one. So there is some, land that I lose a little bit of dirt, but it just shifts from one place to another. And I do what I can to kind of swale that so I don't lose everything. Oh, it just feels like there's so much stuff. I don't even know where to start. Coming back was different this time because I had come back and forth to the cabin a couple of times now. And so a couple of times I'd gotten here and felt like somebody was watching me and couldn't figure it out, and then realized it was probably the mountain lion was probably around, because when there's a mountain lion around or a wolf or something like that, you can feel them watching you. If you're sensitive. Let me rephrase that, because not everybody's as sensitive as I am to all the things out there in nature and with people. But I'm pretty sensitive. And because I've had some abuse in my life, I've also learned to be a little hypersensitive to some things. So I'm always aware and watching for stuff. But I didn't feel anything. It was back to feeling very normal and safe and whatever else here. And so when I came back, it was just simple and always better to arrive during daytime. And I have a big, thing that I kind of tell people in an etiquette sense that you make camp between 3 and 5. Well, it makes sense to arrive back at the cabin between 3 and 5. That way, you're not coming in the dark. You're not, finding some unexpected thing or whatever. Anyways, you don't have to deal with dark. Okay. Please ask me all kinds of questions, please. I would love to answer some. It would be fun if you guys could help me maneuver. Thank you for the tiny GPS. You guys are out here too. Oh, welcome. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I really, speaking of you guys, you're reminding me that I really, really, really want to get a little bit of building done inside the tracker. I have found a couple of things that work better for me while I've been traveling than before. So, how do I deal with a mountain lion? Wow. You give him a wide berth and let him go wherever he wants to go. What can I tell you? So I believe that there is most likely a mountain lion that lives down the ridge. I own the top middle part of a horseshoe shaped ridge. I can attempt to take the computer outside and wirelessly leave it connected to the phone, but I'm not sure it's going to work because the phone's on the Wii Boost, and the Wii Boost is a corded Wii Boost. And I found last summer that if I put the Wii Boost outside and then I could walk a few feet away from it with the computer, but I can't go very far. So I think what I'm going to choose to do instead is I think that I will choose to try to do you a video that shows you more about my place and post it as a video instead of trying to show you on this live. I hope that's okay with whoever asked me that. I was thinking, oh no, it was Iris that said something about the mountain lion. So, yeah, there is a little bit about the cabin. Oh, you want to see my house? Okay. So I'm just saying at 1 a.m. Who is that? Oh, Shane. Shane, you're different. I don't think that Shane, in your lifestyle and the things that you've done, if you want to set up camp at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're not exactly setting up big tents and stuff very often. So I hear you, but I know it's a little easier. So, okay. Thank you all for all the comments, helping me trying to get people to push that button. How was park in Cabo? We didn't spend much time in Cabo. And actually, Cabo was not really even on my particular list. I didn't care because I knew it was going to be a tourist town. And after having lived kind of as an expat, but as a perpetual tourist in Central America, I just know about tourist areas. I'm not interested. I want to go hang out in the fishing village with the guys that are out on the fishing boat at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm more interested in talking to the low income indigenous folks and playing with the kids than I am with seeing another Walmart. So I have quite a different style of traveling than some of the people I have been around with. Is that Rozuk? Oh, hi. Oh, they're always aware of us before we're aware of them. That is absolute. And I see that it says Team Orozuk. So is this actual Orozuk or is it one of the other guys? Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And yes, I think that it's very common to be aware that the mountain lions know you're there where way before you have an awareness of them. And a lot of us are kind of trained to look down for things. So if you were concerned that there's something doesn't feel right, you're looking kind of at eye level or below because we kind of look for maybe this dog out there or maybe this cow or maybe mountain lions, you need to be looking up. You need to look in the trees. When I was in Colorado one time, I went to meet up with somebody else in a campsite. And I can't believe how, well, I can believe, but I'm just saying, I can hardly believe that so many people will set up a camp and they're so, I don't know if insensitive is too strong a term, or I don't mean this to sound I'm just thinking as I'm getting ready to say the comment, I'm thinking that if I'm not careful with my words, it may sound judgmental. That's not what I mean. But there's so many people when they set up camp, they don't notice what's right beside the tire of the car or what's, a few feet around. And maybe because I've been hypersensitive a lot in my life, anyways, I pulled in to visit this person in their camp and I see half raw leg bones of an animal within a few feet of their vehicle. They don't even notice it. And hanging in the tree were parts of an animal. Well, parts of an animal don't get hung in a tree by hunters very often, but a mountain lion will drag its catch up in a tree to eat it, where it has the good viewpoint. They have a safe viewpoint from a cat's. Yeah, think like a cat. They want to be up high while they're eating, so nobody's going to take their food. And it was a fresh kill site. And I was like, so I dubbed the name of that place. And it's close to Elephant Rock near Buena Vista. I dubbed that place the Boneyard. And I was like, yeah, I do not camp there. And I didn't want to camp there then, but I was visiting somebody. And so I only stayed one night because that was a creepy place. I was like, yeah, nope. And Ozzy was still alive. And I went to walk Ozzy. And I did not get 10 feet away from the car. And I heard the mountain lion. And I went, that's it, Ozzy. I'm sorry. You get really short walks on this trip. You can't be leashed out. We can't stay here because of you. Because a small dog, he was 11 pounds. They're coyote bait, and beyond coyote, they're mountain lion bait. So what do? You have a lot of respect. You look up. You watch what you're doing. Okay. And I bet that Orozuk has even more information because I think Orozuk's from California and may have had more experience. Parking in Cabo. Cabo's not as big as you think it is. It's not like Phoenix or something. Okay. Tiny GPS. That sounds perfect. That's how I wrote to. Same guy. A team of one. Okay. I love that you've done that, Orozuk. Whoops, I missed Iris. We are told to talk loudly and bells are just, yeah, no. Okay, so let me just tell you. Bear bells I hiked on the Appalachian Trail. So I know this because I hiked with a bear and I hiked with a bobcat. For 3 days with the bobcat, she was on the ridge above me. I talked to her the whole 3 days. I do not hike with music in my ears. And the bear and her bear cubs walked with me for 2 days. And again, they were kind of over there and a little higher than me. And I talked to them the whole time. Bear bells, all these animals have gotten used to the sound of the bells or the sound of things clanking on a hiker's backpack. And they know that that means there's food. And it's like a dinner bell. So don't take them. Any good hiker worth their anything knows better than to do that. Let me, I'm going to pull this out for a minute. I'm going to go get my cup of hot honey water I made this morning. Hang on. Okay, it was just out of reach, and I couldn't reach it and have the headset in. Let's see. And you want to see a little more of my house? Please understand, I live just as simply at the cabin as I live on the road. So this is not a house like y'all might think it is. So sip first. Honey is an animal product. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep allowing myself to do honey, but for right now, I wanted something and I wasn't feeling super good. My energy was really low. And so I allowed myself some honey. And so this morning I boiled water and then I let it cool down and then I made a honey water warm drink. So here we go. See that? Back door. Can you see my hand? I can touch it. Turn in a corner. Someday I'd probably like to put a bookshelf here, but there isn't that yet. Let me go up this way. There's like a coat rack thing. Yeah, mirror. A mini sewing machine, but it runs on a little battery pack. Okay, can you see that little shelf is some little thing I found somewhere? Okay, and that's the floor. Now I'm going to turn that way. If I tell you directions and it's backwards, I'm going to feel silly. Let me unplug the computer so I can walk around a little. I had it plugged into I have a Rock Pals battery pack. Okay, first big window, temporary canvas curtains. I think you might, I can't see it right now. You might be able to see that candle up there. I bought those last Passover when I was here. Down on the floor is the Rock Pals. Let's go this way some more. I'm going to stand up. There's a stool that the top came off I'm using for a table. Okay, there's the candle thing. Second big window. These windows are 3 foot by 5 foot. They were meant for masonry, but we got them in. I got 3 windows for, I don't remember, they were pretty inexpensive. That's my little Alpacool C12 refrigerator that is not hooked up right now, that I'm wanting to make run in my rig. It would make things nice. Third window, this is my east wall, has these 3 windows. There's my head, the 2 big candles hanging up there. And, okay, I'm trying to, okay, and then you come to the corner. Okay, and the corner has this little bamboo kitchen thing on wheels that I got from Big Lots, but I've already cut the handle off of it and modified it. And I'm no longer eating the food that's inside of it, so I was trying to decide what I'm going to do with that food. But anyways, beside it is a little quarter circle metal shelf thing that I found on Amazon for 20 bucks. Let's see, and above there's a couple of shelves and a few books. Whoops, go that way, Lesa. And a rechargeable, the orange light is a rechargeable light. You kind of getting to see, and my Yuko chandelier, which I want to go in the car with me when I leave again. This window over the top where the dish soap is right now, this window is always open that much, even when I'm gone. Okay, and then here's the front door. This is this is a magnetic cup holder thing that I got at one of the expos. A coat hook, a the black square things are wall protectors from heat. The wood stove on a piece of stone. I not super messy, but you know, my couple of bags of clothes, they're half under the bed right now. My new tire pressure thing that fits my drill. Two little windows on this side. This is the west wall. This wall gets too hot. I have a plan, but whatever. A bed frame that somebody made for me. I had intended it to only have, I intended it to be an inch taller so I could get these plastic tubs underneath that were really well made. Well, there was a mistaken measurement and they didn't get built that size. And I don't really love it. The cabin was intended to have hammock hooks for me to hang a hammock when I was here. And I still have not gotten those hammock hooks up. I own them. And then the window on the south side. And again, some things I'm messing around with here. Some things that, well, this is my, when I go to the bathroom outdoors, the toilet paper and the baby wipes are in this because it's sealed. You know those from Walmart probably. You know, I'm a budget girl. And then here we are at the back door again. That's it. So now you want to know some more specifics? I could show you my floor. It's an imperfect vinyl plank flooring. It didn't fit really well and it didn't snap together well. Whatever. I have a, let's see. This is the back door behind my head. See how I have a cathedral ceiling? Okay. And, okay, that's the kitchen side's cathedral ceiling. Now the kitchen side has a porch. You can see that. Whoops, put your finger down and go back this way towards your head. That right there, that's the roof of the porch out front. And the porch, I'm coming to the door. The porch is real simple, but it's some stone I found. So I used railroad ties, filled it with sand, and put the stone on there. So you shouldn't get any like rats and snakes under the porch situations. Right now, this is going to change. I'm going to the west wall where these little blue candle holders were in these windows. I like to use the candles. If you see out there, you see that shed looking thing over there? Am I pointing in the right place? Yeah, I am, I think. That's when I have to use the bathroom. That's the old bathroom, but I'm going to change that maybe this year while I'm home. I'm not planning to be here all summer. I have appointments in other places. And then out this back door, you can see my pergola, and that black light is a solar powered light. Anyway, and I'm moving all those cement blocks this week. The floor out there under the pergola, again, it was leveled dirt and then these big stones that I had found. So that stuff's getting reworked, and I have some old tin that was corrugated tin that was salvaged from Steve sold me my property, used to have a cabin here on a ways over, quarter of a mile away, something like that. And part of my barter deal, or the partial barter deal I had for getting the land, part of it was that I clean up the old cabin and get rid of the rats and snakes that were in it. And we're talking rattlesnakes. And when that happened, I asked him what he wanted me to do with the supplies, and he said, you use everything that you can to help your life be better, because I've known what stability is and you haven't. And so I was like, wow. So the tin roofing that used to be on his cabin, I have used for a lot of things here. But this year I have decided, since this is so comfortable and simple and whatever else, that I'm going to take that old corrugated tin and I've already prepaid one of my neighbors for some more work because he and his son, they're like friends like family. And they've already agreed to do some things for me. And they already know I've done some prepaying ahead of time for, when I come back, I'm going to need some stuff. So we're going to take the old tin, we'll silicone any holes, and we're going to put that tin over the back patio roof. And that'll give a little more outdoor space. Won't really help with the wind at this stage, but that's okay. And I have a couple of things in the works with that. So I don't want to tell everybody who's out here every detail of what I'm planning to do while I'm here. But I am negotiating a few changes that will simplify some things so that I have less to be concerned about while I'm gone. And the things that became concerns this year were minor, but I've always had a concern that I would come home and a branch would break one of these big windows and I wouldn't be able to replace it, right? Or something like that. Or that there'd be some kind of vandalism or something like that. There's never a problem. But it's a thing that goes through our minds when we're not in a place where we can protect things. Guys, I see that there's 12 of you. Could you hit those thumbs up for me if you're able to, please? Because it does help me with the business side of whatever I'm doing. Don't forget that I have super thanks and super chats. But like I said, I haven't been getting paid. I haven't got paid since June. So don't know what's happening with that yet. I don't know if there's something I need to do to make it better. So let me go up here. Where was? Okay, go back down. Yes, Sherry and Tony. I know, but I read your name and I didn't see that. I saw that it was you, and I was like, my brain couldn't process fast enough. Okay, let me see. Have lived it. Okay. Setting up camp. Okay, saw that mountain lion. Got that one. Nice pictures. I just checked in. Okay, that was, read that before. I'm checking. If we can help you build anything, we have a lot of tools. I have some tools as well, and I will need a little bit of help, but right this minute, I'm using some of the guys. Okay. I'm using some of the guys that I prepaid last year. But anyways, oh, the floor, yeah. That's what we would love to make. Who's that? Tiny. Okay. Simple is good. Yes, at least. Oh, thank you. I've been given a lot. So, I can share it. I want to share it, but I'm also, honestly, and y'all know this, especially Tiny GPS, y'all know this, you and your wife know really well, that I finally got a cost of living raise this year from Social Security disability. So I'm on SSDI, and I finally get $1,000 a month. And so it's always been a big deal when YouTube would send me $100 check, right? But to be honest, I think I've only 1 year gotten 2 checks in a year. So it's not like YouTube makes me any money. And Amazon, even though I'm an influencer, I don't understand why every time I go in to look at things, it says I haven't made any money, because I know you people, I could see the graph. I know you people are going out and clicking on things that I encouraged either on my website or something. So I don't know. I don't understand why I've got zero, always zero. Whatever. It's helping y'all. I try to take a deep breath and just say it's going to all work out in the wash. And I've been thinking lately, when I do write a blog post, which, okay, so my goals are the Sunday Live is working so good. I want to keep doing this. The Teach It at Expos, it's one weekend every once in a while over the summer, right? And if I can just manage those weekends a little better, I enjoy that teaching opportunity with real people. I enjoy traveling with people now. I didn't realize I was going to love that from this trip. And I really like writing the blog, but that my style of writing is really thought heavy. So it takes a lot for me to write a blog post. And so I'd like to be able to be putting a blog post out on Wednesday, doing the Sunday Live, and doing one video during the week. That's what I would like to be doing. And so it really is the goal. And I'm getting better at giving something on Wednesdays on the blog. So hopefully that improves. And I don't know. I'm wondering. I was wondering if I should write a book. I know you guys talk about that a lot. I just don't have a focus for it. I probably should, but I don't know what the focus is. And so I've got a few things to do here to further simplify this space. Not the inside of the cabin itself, because it's pretty simple, but the outside areas. And I no longer need to come home and have to move the front gate to open it to get in, and then come in and have to open another gate to get in. So I'm going to make a parking space, and I'm going to make more parking spaces for other people. But I'm going to move what has been the front gate back behind the porch. So the porch will get a porch railing, and I'm changing my water system back to, I'm saying back. My water system has been fine, but I'm not here that often, and I don't use as much water as I can store here. And I need to put gutters on the house. Rain barrels is a good idea to gather water, but I'm not here that many months. So I'm going to change the way I have things right now and get back to where I'll have my hand pump from a tank somewhere a little more accessible. And I have both a 55-gallon drum and a black 35-gallon or more. It must be more than 35-gallon tank that can be a hot water tank. And I need to like place these a little differently so that they're more usable. And so the goal is to kind of downsize what I've had for water things because they're maintenance heavy and they're a concern while I'm gone. Because to be honest with you, a large water tank that sits where it could be visible from somebody else's property, if you're gone a lot, it is a thing that I know has happened to people in the past. Now, it hasn't happened to me, but I could conceivably come back to a water tank with holes in it from somebody having target practice. And I can't afford to replace that. So I believe I've already told somebody. So I'm selling the big water tank, downsizing to a smaller, more manageable thing for myself because I'm not building a big house here. I'm not putting in a septic tank. It's not the way things are. I'm not finished traveling. And so this year I've got quite a few more I have quite a few more things planned out for this year where I'll be in traveling, teaching situations. And years ago, I had decided that I wanted to only work early in the morning and be finished with work before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that I didn't want to like feel responsible to somebody else. That was before I became disabled. And so, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at Orozuk when I met him this past week. I met up with him in Camp Verde, and lovely meeting. What a lovely guy. We swapped some stories and talked some tracker things. I mean, geez, I drove my vintage tracker all the way to Cabo, Baja, New Mexico. That's from Yuma. That's a 22-hour drive. Okay, I drove that tracker all the way down there and back. Now, I did it in a group with other people, and you guys, some of you saw those little quick videos, the shorts I did of, oh my gosh, we're getting ready to go, and here's all the vehicles, right? And there were things that happened. And some of it was scary as crap. And hopefully I can get the videos well, they told me I could get the videos from them. Candy got some good videos of when I kind of like had an anxiety thing after doing my first really steep hill. And then the next steep hill wasn't so steep. So it was like, oh, well, I could do. And then we went back to that place on the way home. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was scared of this hill. So it's funny how your perspective changes when you try things and do things. And then I come home, and the neighbors were all worried about the ruts in the road on the way home. And they were able to get a new drag for the road. And so they were able to like cut some of the high parts down. And there's still ruts, but I can straddle the tire track. And so I'm fine. So it's all good. Remind you where my blog is? Okay. My blog is at simplylesa.blogspot.com. So SimplyLesa dot blogspot.com. Oh, thank you, Orozuk. I really appreciate that, and I think that's kind of how I'm thinking about doing things. Because when I used to do speaking points, when I worked for IBM years ago, I was a high-end administrator, and they were trying. One of my project managers was really working hard to try to get me hired as a full-time IBM employee, and they couldn't because I never finished college. So I didn't have a degree. But while I worked under him, I was encouraged so much. And I actually ran three, I think it was three. He wanted me to run five, but I think I only ran three project offices. And it was some pretty high responsibility things. And I had people who worked under me. And so I often had to deal with speaking in groups, and to organize all of these engineer types and software engineer types and get them pulled together into a situation, even though I wasn't like their boss or anything. And then there was another time prior to that I worked for the Department of Transportation in Virginia, and it was for the state of Virginia. And I was part of the communications team because I had a good way of understanding the guy with shovel and the guy that was in the CEO's office. And I could like connect the conversations well. And so I did learn how to get my bullet points together so that I could stay focused to talk about things. And so I just don't do that on here because I never feel like I really have much of a focus yet. I do want to start doing more interviews like I did with Michael from Drive the Globe a few weeks back. Um, okay. Right, outline, just talk. It's Blogspot. Yes, Blogspot. Yes, you're welcome. Okay. So we're not quite at an hour, and I like to give you guys an hour at least. Sometimes we go over, and you all know that. What would you like me today to talk more about? Because it's hard for me to know what to focus on today. I had a little glitch with my diet in the last couple of weeks. Part of that was because I was feeling not connected with the group I was traveling with. And so I chose to introduce different carnivore things into my lion diet, which changed some things. And then I tried a couple of items right around Passover that were plant based. And I started getting sick again. And so didn't like that, have stopped that, but it hasn't been many days. I'm starting to feel clearer. And was so glad when I got close to the cabin, rather than come through St. John's and get my mail, I decided to come in from Sanders for a really important reason. I knew I needed to buy meat before I got home. And I know that Sanders on I-40, that Bashas, because it's run by and owned by people on the reservation, they have a lot of mutton or lamb. I don't know why they always call theirs mutton over lamb, but when I know the prices are higher than I'd like. It's not like budget, but it's also not the most expensive in the world either. And so I chose to come that direction to come back so that I could stop there to get lamb because sheep, lamb, or mutton, they don't like to eat grains. So they're more grass fed than other animals. And so without having to order grass fed stuff that's more expensive, if you can just buy, if you can afford some sheep products, it's already going to be basically grass fed. So, and it felt so good. I had lamb for, I had like chops for Sabbath dinner. And then yesterday I had bought some liver, beef liver, calf's liver. And so I cooked that up yesterday, and that's what I was snacking on all afternoon yesterday, and that felt really good. But I am still working with that carnivore diet. I do appreciate that diet a lot. So I'm trying to think what things I have not remembered. Finding food, fuel, and camping spots in. Oh, okay. So there are more gas stations than you think there are down in Mexico. Evidently, it used to be worse. There used to be long stretches without gas stations, and it's not like that. But what I had been told before I went was make sure that you top off your tank in Mulahay, make sure you top off your tank in La Paz, make sure you top up. What I liked doing was topping off my tank every so many, every once in a while. So I just kept my tank topped off. But I was traveling with people who had a diesel truck, a couple of gas vehicles with two tanks on them. And so they didn't want to stop for gas. Once we figured out that there were two of us with gasoline vehicles, the two of us needed gas more often than anybody else. So it was they were using that to decide when we would stop at a gas station. And so what we ran into, Orozuk, was going when we were on the Baja Divide Trail. We did the Naranja section, and I can't remember the name of the other section, but we did two sections. And I was in four-wheel drive, and my tire pressure was lower. and it ate gas. And at one point, I had to go to a farmhouse and I had to beg to buy gas. They siphoned gas out of a motorcycle to put gas in my car because they said that the next day they were going to town and they could buy more. So if I didn't mind paying a little extra, I didn't care. I needed enough to roll into a gas station on fumes. And I did roll into a gas station on fumes twice. So, but that was because of using the four-wheel drive and the lower tire pressure, which I didn't understand that those things would use more gas. So, for myself, once I can figure out this roof rack situation with my fiberglass removable top, which is a thing that I'm having a little problem figuring out. But once I can figure that out, I would like to at least have a 1 gallon Rotopax gas can. My buddies were saying get a 2 gallon. Well, I got to consider how much that's going to weigh and where am I going to keep it, because the more weight I have on the car, the more gas mileage I'll use as well. So, but I think you don't have to run into that situation, but I was new to some of this. New to some of this idea, and the fact that my tires are wider, so when you put less air pressure in them, the tires contact the road more, and then you're kind of pushing the tires on the road a little more than, or on the sand, a little more than you are when they have more air pressure in them. So I get the basic concept, and maybe there's adjustments to when the four-wheel drive gets used, because I think that a lot of that Baja Divide Trail is no worse than the roads coming to my cabin. It's very similar to what I'm used to driving on all the time. And so I think I didn't need to be in four-wheel drive the whole time. I think I needed to be in four-wheel drive when I was going down those steep mountain passes. And so perhaps learning to shift in and out of it a little differently might have been a little more help. So finding food, not a problem at all. There's food everywhere, but there's people. And where there's people, there's food. And so, yes, I'm on this specialized diet, but you know what? They have beef jerky, they have carne seca, they have, which is dry beef, and they also have machaca, which is also a dry beef, from back in the day. It's a historic thing. It's from back in the day when they couldn't afford refrigeration. And every grocery store. But their beef, they cut in little thin. If you want a steak, your steak is going to be thin. They're not real thick like cowboy steaks or anything. And if you go to a farmhouse, you can often buy straight from them. You can buy the raw milk. You can buy the, whatever. Homemade cheeses, stuff like that. You can just buy it from a farm. But the people I was traveling with couldn't even think that way. They were, now in my humble opinion, okay, they travel very different from me. I'm used to going into a situation and immersing in the culture. These people were like, road time is most important. So 6 hours on the road driving at 70 or 75 miles an hour. My tracker doesn't like to do 75 miles an hour. I can, but I don't love it, because my tracker, somebody said to me once, your tracker feels like an old Willis Jeep from the 60s because you just feel things more. And so, when you're driving that fast, it's like, and you're doing mountain passes and whatever else. But these people I traveled with, their style was very different. They wanted to go to whatever brewery they could go to. And so often the breweries were run by Americans. And to me, you're missing out on the culture when you do that. And when we found grocery stores, I'm hunting for the little local mercados because I know I'm going to be able to get Topo Chico real cheap. Okay, Topo Chico is a Mexican version of like a Pellegrino, a mineral water, and and it's super cheap. It was like $1 for a 2 liter bottle. Okay, the smaller individual sizes were more expensive, and so I would buy 4 bottles of that every time we'd go in a store. But if you go in Walmart, it was $2 or $3 a bottle. And so yes, there were Walmarts, but I learned about the people I was traveling with, they wanted to go to the Walmarts more often. And so to me, that was almost a disappointment. I learned how to maneuver it. And that was partly why I reintroduced the goat milk cheese from the Walmarts, was because it was kind of running out of options in Walmarts to find me something to eat. And so I picked up honey and goat milk cheese like you could get in the States and Topo Chico. And then I would try to buy some thin, like skirt steaks. And for me, they were breakfast food, and I would just stick a bamboo skewer through them. And if we had a campfire, I would just stick them on the campfire, or I would just like cook them real quick and just eat a couple of chunks of that. And but food is not an issue anywhere. You can find food everywhere, and you can pay gringo prices, or you can practice your Spanish and go into a regular local mercado or a farmer's market, and you can actually negotiate the prices or what you want and walk out with something you love. And I did not travel with my little Alpicool refrigerator because my solar system wouldn't keep it running. And I learned last summer it was, if that's not going to work, let me not do that. And then Bernie was so good to me before in Yuma. She bought me that moose jaw cooler that I used the whole trip. And once we crossed the border, well, actually in Yuma, I found my first block ice in Yuma easily. And then we got across the border, and I just went to ice houses and bought block ice. And block ice will keep food cold in that cooler because it's a little thicker. It's roto molded, and the lid on it, when you push it down and go to lock it, you can hear it seal, and you have to open it and then kind of pry it up to unseal it. But if you put a block of ice in there, you can get almost a week's worth of good cold storage. So I really enjoyed that. So not a problem finding food, parking, as far as camping parking. Not you, you use iOverlander. Everybody down there is using iOverlander. There are free places to camp all over. Lots of them on the beach. But we were coming back when it was Semana Santa, which is Easter week, and their tradition is that all families go to the beach so they can get their feet in natural water during Easter week is important for them. And like I grew up in a Sabbath keeping situation, and we keep Passover. And the night before, well, the Passover itself night, we would have done a foot washing ceremony, and it's the same kind of thought pattern. And then the next day, you have this big dinner, which the religion I grew up in, we called it the night to be much observed, but the Jewish people call it Seder dinner. And it was the same basic kind of thing. You have matzah, you have horseradish and lamb, and a couple other things, and usually chicken liver pate to put on your matzah. I didn't do all that this year, but anyway. But because we were traveling back during that time, it was really hard to get a place to, don't travel during Semana Santa in a Latino place, because they're going to be near natural water wherever you are, and they are not going to allow any gringo situation to kind of take over what's theirs. And so you just have to make room for them and you move over. And it's appropriate. It's their culture. I mean, we don't know everything. Get off our high horses over here as Americans, and we need all the other cultures. We need everybody to be different, and so let them be different. Let them have their time, because it's important, and they let us have ours. So take a deep breath and move on. But so I would suggest that you don't make your first trip during that Easter week, Semana Santa week. That's not a good idea. And but other than that, Overlander tells you lots of places to camp, and many, 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 many. The people I was with wanted to pay for camping and pay for dinners in restaurants, and I was not thrilled with that, but I participated more than I would have if I had been on my own. But it was all good, and I'm not talking negative about this. It was all good. Um, let's see, I saw something else. Yeah, Topo Chico. Let's see. Robert, who's here? I missed the Robert. I didn't see who it was. Oh, from the road with Robert. Hey, how are you? You're gonna come visit me soon. Okay. Okay. Block ice in Yuma, um, in the Big Lots shopping center, across from across the street, across that highway from Sprouts. There's a Latino grocery store. I forgot the name of it. Oh, I'm not sure I can pull that name out of my hat. Um, Del Sol. Yeah, that's it. Del Sol. They have it, and the Chevrons have it in Yuma, Block Ice in Yuma. Um, Also, there is an ice house in Yuma. I can't remember the name of the company, but when you buy bag ice in Yuma, the name is on the bag ice. If you go to the actual ice house, they have Block Ice there as well. Um, Other places, you could be a little challenged to find it, but some Walmarts. Now, I used to remember that you could get it at Winslow, but when I went in Winslow, they only had ice cubes. So I bought some because I bought a piece of meat. I bought the calf's liver, but our the bashes up here at Sanders should have block ice most of the time. Every once in a while, you'll run into Sholo has block ice. Every once in a while, you'll run into a store that has a Walmart or a Safeway or something like that that has the other ice. What's the freeze dried ice that they ship stuff in? Oh, I thought I was clearer. Well, I am clearer. I just haven't talked about this in a minute. But that other ice, the freeze dried one, I can't think of the name. Dry ice. And when you can find dry ice, you have to protect the plastic of your cooler with cardboard. But if you layer your frozen food on the bottom of the cooler, and then you put cardboard, and then you put dry ice, and then you put cardboard again, and then you put refrigerated items, and then you put a few ice cubes, your cooler will stay like that for almost a week. It'll keep everything, or more than a week. It'll keep the food in the bottom frozen a long time. But you got to be careful not to burn yourself, because dry ice, you can burn yourself. Okay, let me double check you all's comments. I saw some more things blinking. Blinking through dry ice, that was it. You're going to come visit soon. Okay. You can find free camping if you look around there, Robert. Use Overlander. It really works well. Dry ice. I couldn't find it. Nobody seemed to know. Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, dry ice and block ice are a thing. In fact, Carolyn, what's her name, who wrote the Boat Galley book years ago. I was about to write a book about how to store food without refrigeration. And then she wrote one, and she and I started talking to each other. She was living in Nicaragua at the time. And but she and her husband have lived on boats more than they've RV'd. And she has some really fantastic articles out there about how to successfully use coolers in the heat. And she has pictures and good articles, and I'm just so grateful that she took that on and did that as her focus. It was a thing that was more important to her in her life, and it gave her a good business, and I'm very happy for her what she's done. So you might want to look into that if you're interested in that information. I guess I just never had a good enough focus on my own stuff. Um, well, I do kind of though. It's all about living simply, and I gotta tell y'all something that just came to me in the middle of the night last night. Okay, I woke up with a start. I don't know what woke me up or why. Maybe I was dreaming something. Oh, God, I did. But you know how sometimes you just go, oh, okay, I'm awake. What was that? Anyways, woke up and it was still dark out. And I was like, you know, do you remember? It was like the thought was running through my mind. Do you remember all those years ago when you were talking to one of your sisters about how cool it would be if you could have a little tiny house somewhere where you didn't have to worry about leaving a coffee cup and a couple of important papers if you wanted to, or a book you loved or something, and then go traveling and be able to come and go from it, even if you didn't live there 24/7? And then I went, oh crap, yeah. And I finally have it. The only thing that I could see in the middle of the night when the thought came through was, yeah, and what I need to do is simplify it a little bit more. I made it a little too complicated. And not in a bad way, just I'm going to simplify it some more so that while I'm gone, the worry's not there because I'm not done traveling. So, sometimes these things come to us. So, okay. Yes, yes, that's her name. Yep. Yes, she is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And her information is great. She pulled together things that I had researched over the years. It was just her focus. And I'm just so grateful that it's her focus. I didn't have to. I don't mean that like I'm more special because I knew similar things. It was like I didn't want to write cookbooks and stuff. I didn't mind sharing what I knew, but I'm just so grateful I could tell you guys, go look at her stuff because her stuff's fabulous. And any of you that are out here and you're thinking about homesteading, look, my buddy and neighbor, John, who has frugal off-grid homestead or frugal off-grid homesteading. He lives near me, and when he moved here, he had some like struggles, and I met up with him early on, and I was like, "Well, look, I'm just going to tell you that people will poo-poo you, and they'll tell you that this thing can't happen and that other thing can't happen, and stuff won't." People will tell people out here stuff won't grow under the junipers, and I'm like, "Don't listen to them," because I've tried. So, I'm just saying, try some of these things and then go on your way. Well, John has made himself a wonderful business. He did something that I wish I had done, but my stuff's turning out to be good too. He rebuilt the inside of his van rather than building a cabin. And he started with the kind of situation I wanted to start with. I wanted to start with a shed and a carport where I could pull the vehicle under the carport, get out of the weather, and I could get in the shed to do whatever I needed to do. But whoever was helping me wasn't in the mood for helping me do that thing. And so, but John has done a fabulous job. He bought 2 acres of land when he was homeless, living in his van, and had like next to nothing. He found a deal where he could afford the payments. And he now has a lovely place, a lovely business. His health has improved. I saw him yesterday. He looks fabulous. He's strong and he's got animals and he's doing wonderfully. So if you're thinking about homesteading, especially in Apache County, but anywhere in these northern Arizona parts, take a look at what he's doing because he has practiced some things and he's a hard worker, very hard worker. And you don't have to be as hard a worker as he is, but I do think, similar to something I've learned in my life, that once we found the consistency, that we're aiming toward something, but we consistently are aiming toward whatever that thing is. And for me, it's the keeping everything simple and light. And, as I continue that, this all gets easier. It's easier, it works, whatever. Well, pseudonym, he is. But I don't think he's looking for somebody who's looking for him. I caught something he said the other day on one of his videos. I don't watch them that often, but for some reason I watched one the other day, and he said, "Well, you never know if a milkmaid's walking down the road one day," and it goes into this little story, and it was cute. But people who work hard like that and have a consistent focus towards something, they are not looking to take care of somebody. So just, you do you. And if it's supposed to work out, it'll work out. So, yeah. Okay, whatever. You spit out your tea and laughed. Well, good for you. Good for you. I'm glad you didn't choke on it. But let's see. What else is. Did I finish this? I did not finish this. Oh, the other day, I was at the Winslow Walmart. They have these little tiny solar step lights. Okay. So they mount flat on a wall like this, and the light shines straight down. They have holes to like put screws, so you can hang them on a screw, right? And they come on at dark and go off 8 hours later. So it's only on and off. It's not like you're going to use this on the side of your van if you don't want it to come on. I guess you could, but it would come on at night and you probably wouldn't want that. But my point being, a pack of two was $3. That was really cool. And that little hummingbird feeder that I think it was Iris, commented on Instagram or wherever it was that we were chit chat, maybe Facebook. I found that at a Walmart, and I was like, "Oh, this is more me." So I got myself a welcome home present. I'm feeding hummingbirds, and I've had a couple of them come by, and that's kind of nice. I don't want to like go crazy with hummingbird feeders. It's just a lot of work. Okay, any more questions per se? But I do love to encourage people to do what works. Oh, okay. I encourage people to do what works for them. And if what you're doing helps somebody else and I feel like I can get behind it, I will. And so I do talk about other people's things. By the way, I love the iDome shelter people. I think the guy's name's Darren. Yeah, I think it's Darren. he is making me part of the family without me even having bought the thing yet. And he's figuring out a way for me to be able to afford to buy an iDome shelter. So at some point I will have one. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to carry it on the roof. And it's just wonderful when people accept you into what they're doing too. And so now the Zuki guys are really paying attention kind of to, oh my God. Well, Waypoint Overland and Drive the Globe just did a podcast together and talked about me on the podcast a lot. And they were saying how I'm not their typical, when they think of overlanders, I'm not their typical, customer in an overlander situation. And I was like, why not? I mean, there's other people like me. I'm not the only one, but but it's still cool that, as I'm proving myself kind of and doing these things, then I get to be part of the gang. And I am part of the Overland Expo family, but there's other events that keep sending me things and wanting me to go to their events, but I'm trying to choose them wisely because I'm not a festival person. And there's so many people in the what started out as van dwelling and has become van life thing that are needy begging and not really good neighbors. And I've already had the challenges of, I used to have get togethers on my property, and I've already had the challenges of people trying to squat and not leave and wanting to take my land away from me. I've had people be disrespectful of the fact that it's my land and you don't get to just dump your shitty trash here and walk away and then not help me figure out a way to get it to a dump. I mean, they're really, I've had some bad experiences, so I don't do that the same anymore. I'm extremely careful who comes here because I need this place to recharge my batteries. And God gave me this place for me to practice my management skills and to practice my boundaries with and to be careful with and to respect it. And so I have to respect the land, the history of the land, the animals and plants. I got to respect myself here. I got to respect God and nature. And so that's I'm more careful with this. So all of this being said, there are places in Apache County where some of you people can go if you're hunting for a community. It's not going to be Lesa, okay? I am not going to start a community for somebody to live in. It is not my thing. It's not how I feel, okay? I don't feel like it's my job in any way, shape, or manner. I am going to do newbie camp around RTR next year. I've talked to Bob Wells about going ahead and being a speaker at RTR this coming year. And so I'll try to fit that in the schedule as well. I wish that he was helping me with gas money, like Overland Expo pays me a token amount, and that token amount helps me with gas money, which is how I can be a part of the Overland Expo family. That's helpful because my income is truly so low. And I didn't use Bob to jump off and become, something. Plus the fact that Bob didn't spell my name right. So, okay. But now you can't miss it because I put the stickers all over my car. So now you know how to spell my name. But I did not grow the channel as much as I thought I would while I was gone. I do have more Latino friends that found me along the road and are subscribers and whatnot. Okay, what was I telling you? But communities. I will mention that there is Janet Douglas on Facebook has started a Luna Gaia community about half an hour away from me, closer to I-40 and closer to Holbrook from me. She bought 120 acres and she is trying to start a community. Good on her. Keep it over there. I don't want it next door to me at all. I am not mad about it. I just have had enough. The wisdom of my experiences and years just tells me that I don't want that too close to me. So if you want a community and you're hunting for that, go over there and practice with them. I know two other people who are interested in starting communities, and I heard that there's another community, but I think it's nameless, down in Douglas. And it's not the Homes on Wheels Alliance one. It's somebody else. But he allows people that are van dweller, van life people to go stay on his property as long as they follow his guidelines. And good on them, okay? Other than that, there are a few RV parks that love the van people and will rent to van people as they are moving along, whatever, but there's rent involved and things of that nature. So I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody who wants to do these things because they're lovely ideas. I have traveled extensively in Central America and other places, and I have visited many intentional communities, and they're a delicate thing. And I am not that social a person, and I don't want the responsibility for trying to make something work. It's an awful lot of work. So yes, and that is true. It very often just turns out to be only a few people left that are doing all the work, and they kind of peter out over years. And there's the, jealousy. Yeah, I don't even know of, well, they're always doing the work and now their one's always taken or whatever it is. And so you can look up the history of these things, but if it works for you, that's wonderful. Hi, Jules. It's wonderful if it works for you, but I'm just saying. And a tiny imposes the need for austere simplicity. I'm challenging myself by maintaining the ability to collect content. Yes. I yeah, I don't know if I'd put that in the book. I might put it in a book, but whatever. And tiny GPS, that's wonderful if you're thinking about land, but be cautious about what you think you want to do with your land, and be cautious about where you're going to choose. You, the area I'm in, acreage is a low cost. You can get gypped really bad in this area by newbies who bought land too expensive, especially people, no offense, but especially people from cities like Phoenix or California who moved to this area. They were sold their land for way too much money, and then they thought they were going to do a certain thing, and they moved out here without being prepared. And then they're trying to get rid of it. They're trying to dump the land that they paid too much for, but they want to make money. And so you can get gypped out here real good, because land in my area that is less than 100 acres should be costing $500 to $700 an acre. And over 100 acres, it should cost $200 an acre. And if you want smaller acreage than that, then there's a negotiable thing. But have known of land that goes for 500 for just an acre, and next door to it, somebody paid 3,000 or 4,000 for an acre right next door, because they were from a city and they didn't know any better. So they didn't negotiate. They didn't work with what was possible. So be careful. And then choose who your neighbors, if you can, check. Because if you want to invite other people to hang out on your property, or you want to do some of the things that I tried in the past, me personally, I might not want you on the 40-acre right beside me because I've already been through it and I don't want to go through it again. And I know how people are, and people are not very respectful. And there's a lot of new growth in this area, and so there's a lot of newbies. And I've been through stuff. So I'm not discouraging you. I'm just saying be careful. And I know there's a lot of YouTubers and Bob Wells and other people who kind of live or bought up in that Williams area. I don't know if you know this, but Williams is on the road that goes up to Grand Canyon, and which is also close to I-40, and it's very close to Flagstaff. Well, you put all those little intersections close together. That's a lot of traffic and a lot of people who are going to come there because it's easier to get to, that have certain kinds of characteristics. And so some of the problems in that Williams area are drugs and thefts and things of that nature. Now, I'm not saying for absolute certain, I'm saying I know, I've heard stories, okay? And I know enough to know. If you're really close to a highway, you get more chances of those things happening to you. If you're a little more remote, I'm a little more remote. I own private property. I did not buy into a ranch community. So I have no property owners association. I have private property. My easements are larger footage than in a ranch community. A ranch community, you're only going to lose 15 feet to an easement road. See, there is no landlocked land in Arizona because every piece of land has easements, and those easements are the roads to allow people to get to their property. So when you put your fences up, you have to put your fences on the easement, not on the property line, which one of the neighbors just this year while I was gone put their fence on a property line. That's going to be a problem for the road. It's going to be a problem real quick because they're too close to where the neighbors, right, have to put theirs on an easement road. Okay, and as a private property owner, when my neighbor decided to be a butthead, then 30 feet of my property, all around it, 30 feet, all the way around my 10 acres, 30 feet is easement, which means public roads or possible public roads for other people to access their land. So in my particular case, the county decided once I said something about this is happening to me, how do I manage this? And the county said, this is what you do. And unless you can afford to go to court, don't fight. Don't fight. So do this. This is safe. Okay. So I put up my fence along. I had a survey. The other person didn't. The other person was using a drone and software. And that's not my problem. I got survey markers, okay? And so I put my fence 30 feet back from my survey markers, put it in the right place. The other guy cut some of my trees. Some things happened in the process because he was like, no, you're in the wrong place. And I'm like, well, what makes you? I never used to say what makes you, but I think it, right? And then later it's like, okay, deep breath. I know what's right. I had the survey done. So I put my fence up. Then I come back. He's put a fence up. Well, once we put both fences up, anybody can cut that wood in between. Well, I just have to make sure that there's a path through that will allow the guy who was here before me to get to his property. And if it has anything to do with coming close to my property, I have to make sure the access is the same as it used to be. Well, the other guy should have done that for me, but he didn't do it. So I had to incur all the costs to make sure the guy that had access before me had access. So then I got to pay somebody to cut wood. It's a thing. It's a thing, but there is no landlocked. Okay, I think I went on a tangent, and now I forgot what I was talking about. But you got to be a little careful with these things, and so there's responsibility, but it's not impossible. Just kind of try to be, find a way to be neighborly. I know, Tiny GPS, you guys are neighborly kinds of people, but yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've been there, done that. There's a whole thing. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be a part of a community to stay a couple of months because honestly, where my cabin is, there's some severe weather, and that's why the cabin's here, and that's why there's a wood stove in here because I've been here when it's been 30 below. Okay, I've been here living in a tent when there were 70-mile-an-hour winds. It ain't no joke. Okay, and so I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying it's possible. I'm also saying, but you better prepare. Don't come out here thinking you're going to live here 24/7, 365, and never get stuck in the mud, or never have a mountain lion cross your path, or never see a wolf, or never see a bear, or never have, the antelope eat your garden or whatever. So, yeah. Um, Okay, wait a minute. We just got a visit from a former employee at Zooks Off Road. He and a few buddies just pulled a few 20 each trout out. Good for them. Oh, that's wonderful. Too bad I wasn't there. Oh, man, I would have liked that. Oh, that's fabulous. You know what, Orozook? When you get a chance to come visit up here, because some of you, there's this private invitation thing. I I got to feel safe and tested, probably have known you a little bit first. But Orozook, when you get coming this way, I know a couple of spots within an hour of me where the camping's free and the fishing ain't no joke. And so if you're into fishing, now the guys in the guys I went with down to Baja, they were in shock when one day one of them was like fussing about something, and it was like, what are you guys looking for? And they're like, oh, you don't have it. And I was like, well, try me. And they were like, we're hunting for a fishing hook. And I said, well, reach under my seat. See that little green bag? They pulled it out, and I said, open the bag. And it's my fishing kit. And they were like, oh, shit. You have fishing stuff in your car? How can you possibly in that tracker? Well, come on. So, I don't have my license for Arizona right now, but I did a year ago. And I'll get one again. But if you get up here, there's a really great spot to camp and good fishing up the road, about an hour from here. And yeah, trout for dinner. I'm just saying. Yeah, fresh caught stuff. Yeah, that's carnivore. All right. Oh, I remember somebody saying, didn't somebody ask me, let's see, didn't somebody ask me about why my diet? Is that what? Um, so my diet, so in 2019, I was at the first boondocking bash. Jimmy and Seth had asked me to please come and run the kitchen. And I was like, okay, but I'm doing it my way. Y'all stay it on my way, right? Fed 450 people Thanksgiving dinner and food for a week, okay? The only thing I did not do was Jimmy's midnight bacon club thing. Of course, I don't do bacon anyways, but that was not part of my stuff. And we managed that kitchen for what, 10 days, a week, something. Right afterwards, I got sick. We didn't know what I got sick with, but I'm allergic to propane, and I was running this kitchen outfit inside enclosed tents, and I'm allergic to propane. Okay, and and I managed as best I could, but then I got sick right afterwards, and you know, You love and you hate. You have these love-hate relationships with nomads. I just have to say this. One of the nomads had the balls to go tell everybody I was fine when I wasn't fine. Okay, I I was sick enough that nobody knew what happened to me, and we still don't know whether I had one of the first cases of COVID or what. But I thought I'd had a stroke. And Ken Stewart was there. That's the pictures you've seen of Ken and hugging me when I was really sick and my hair was short, and it was a whole thing. I had that minivan. Now that minivan that Howard gave me, Homes on Wheels Alliance gave me a minivan. I had it for 4 months. It had a bad engine. It died. I couldn't drive it. Sometimes things that people try to do to help you don't always turn out to be helpful. But it was helpful in a different way than they intended. So anyway, I got super sick. I had to be carried. I was on the ground in a rainstorm. I had to be carried into a location because I couldn't walk. We didn't know what was wrong. I was like paralyzed. I thought I was moving my eyeballs, and I wasn't even moving my eyeballs. I thought I was talking to people, and they couldn't hear me. 2 weeks later, I found a way to get my ass out of where they had put me. Somebody, the same person that evidently told people I died, also told people, yes, the news, the exaggeration of my death has been, or the news of my death has been widely exaggerated. I'm not dead, okay? And I don't live in a house in a city. Those are the two things I've heard while I was gone this winter so much. And I was like, yeah, no, not dead. No, didn't happen. Sorry. Sorry to burst your bubble, but nope. And somebody else told me that they'd seen the logo and they thought I was somebody's ex. And so they'd been talking bad about me all over the internet. And I'm like, well, get your facts straight, people. And please go correct that. So I haven't seen any corrections, but that's not up to me. So yeah, I'm not dead. Anyway, so I got really, really sick. But like a week and a half, 10 days later, something like that, I finally was able to drive a little bit. And over 2 days, it took me to drive from Quartzsite to Yuma because I every few minutes and take a nap, wait till I had some strength again, and then drive a little bit more and nap again. So it took me 2 days to get down to Yuma. I got to Yuma, pulled into a campsite that I'm familiar with, collapsed again. And the next day, talked to somebody I knew and was like trying to figure out what was going on. And I was like, I think I need to call the nurse line at the hospital. And it was part of why I took myself to Yuma, because I knew the hospital was going to be better. So somebody, nomad person, after they had carried me into some nasty ass dirty RV and left me in somebody's bed, who was really, I couldn't lift my head. Ken Stewart kept coming in and making sure that I had had a sip of water. And then he would leave, and then I wouldn't see him for a day. And but somebody told him that I got better and I left, which was not true. And then they told other people that I not only got better and left, but I faked the whole thing. When I got to Yuma, they were in the camp where I showed up. And then they said directly to me, you're faking the whole thing. Nobody can be sick this long. Okay? And then they went on to tell people that I was dead. Okay? I called the nurse line. The nurse line said, first off, get away from that person. Second off, get somebody else to drive you to the hospital, as soon as you can do that. But she said, move your vehicle first. See if you can leave it near somebody that you trust halfway. and get them to drive you to the hospital. Candy and Rick and I got really close that winter. Now, Candy and Rick from New Mexico that have the pit bulls. They love pitties. And they took me to the hospital. The hospital kept me 5 days. We all thought I'd had a stroke. We didn't know what was wrong. I didn't have a stroke, but they took so many tests. And I think one time they took 15 tubes of blood. Okay. They put me through CAT scans and MRIs and all this stuff. It was like crazy, crazy test. And they sent me to a specialist. Then they sent me to another specialist. And so I finally got tired of waiting and said, I'm not staying anymore. I'm not doing any more of this. But COVID had just come out, started, right? And so I drove home in a car that didn't, a new to me car that was a piece of shit that overheated on the way home. The reservoir was boiling. It was bad. It was a bad car. Anyways, but that was after the minivan, right? I went to that's a whole story, and I want to get into the long stories of everything, all the details. But so I so I yeah, I was in the hospital 5 days. They thought I had a stroke. Like I said, they took all these tests. But because COVID had just started, nobody read the test. I, smart girl, I got all the CDs, the imaging CDs and stuff. I got them physically in my hands. So I came home. Then I built the cabin because it was COVID and I thought I was going to die. I didn't know what was happening. So I built the cabin. And that was a horrible process too. I mean, I've had a lot of trouble with people, but whatever. I mean, it's turned out to be good, but boy, the process sucked. So it was January this year. Am I telling you right? Yeah, January this past year. Not this January, but the January before, 22. When I finally had a doctor read all those tests from 2019. And he went, oh crap. He said, you know how 1 + 1 is 2? He goes, there's an equation for the thing that's called MS. And he says, because you have this plus this, I have to put it on your paperwork that you have MS. And I'm like, MS? Like autoimmune? Like I'm going to be drooling in a wheelchair or something? I mean, that's how not educated I was about MS, okay? Right. But anyways, and he was like, yeah, he goes, but I don't believe it. First off, as old as you are. Second off, none of it looks right. But he goes, I have to put it on the paperwork because it's 1 + 1 equals, it's part of the equation. So he put it on the paperwork. And that's when I found out that I had MS. And so I was like, well, oh shit, if I'm going to like not be able to walk soon. So I went through some kind of weird stuff. That was the month before I taught at my first Overland Expo. And I was still in the headspace of, I don't even understand what's wrong with me. But crap, if I'm going to die, I better do it now. I mean, I better do this stuff while I got the opportunity. So I'm not going to wait on Overland Expo. I'm going to go talk to people because I might be dead next year. So that drove a lot of the decisions I made around early 2022. And that's also the same timing as I had just gotten the tracker. And I was scared that not only did so the tracker cost me $4,500. It was hard to buy. I had to take out a $2,000 loan to buy it because I didn't have enough money after the Cherokee and the minivan, right? So I had to take out a loan in order to buy it. And then I got it and it needed $2,700 worth of work and I didn't have any money for that. So I took out another loan for that. I'm still paying that stuff off. Early next year, it will be all paid for. But that's hard when you only get $1,000 a month. Y'all can imagine. Some of you have low incomes too, so I know some of you understand this. But so to find that out and then have Overland Expo and dealing with all the, I didn't know that's why I'm so tired. I didn't know that's why when I ate a certain thing, I would just not be able to walk for 2 days or whatever else. I never had put those things together. While right after Oregon was the first time I met somebody else that was on an MS support group that I was on. And it was the first time I talked to somebody with real MS who'd had it for a while. And it was like, whoa, okay. Now it's weird, but okay. I'll live or something. But the whole thing's been so. Then this year, this past winter, I always listen to a lot of podcasts. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I love Jay Shetty and The Minimalist. Oh, The Minimalist are the bomb. Come on. I was chatting with The Minimalist before they wrote their first book online, right? So they're real close. Like, I feel close to them even though we've never seen each other in person. And so Dr. Ken Berry and I don't know, the Petersons, what's his name? Jordan Peterson and his daughter Michaela. It was Michaela that was when I found out about the Lion Diet. When I found out about Lion Diet, I went, well, I want to know more. If you've had a lot of the problems I've had, being allergic to everything in the world and whatever else, and you're better if you're only eating meat, well, I could do that. I've been vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've been everything else. I can try that, because otherwise I'm just out of here, who knows when. So I started paying attention to how often I felt better when all I was eating was meat. And I was like, you know what? I'm already kind of doing this. I just didn't realize it. So then I started paying attention even more. And I got onto a Facebook group for the Lion Diet, and I met Nathaniel, who has MS, had past tense MS, but just before he found Lion Diet, they amputated one of his legs. And he now says he's cured. He does not have MS anymore. And he believes that if he had found the diet before the amputation, he wouldn't have needed it. And then I met another second person who also cured their MS doing Lion Diet. So I went, that's all I need. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. So I even traveled to Mexico doing strict Lion Diet, which is meat, salt, and water only. And I was choosing to do Pellegrino or mineral water, right? And I couldn't afford to get Redmond's real salt in the beginning because it was $9 a bag. But after a minute, I bought some. I bought some just before I made the trip. Yeah, just before I made the trip because it was $10 a bag. And I was like, it doesn't even taste salty to me. I need a lot of it, And, but that's why I switched to Lion Diet. But on the trip, then I kind of eased up a couple of weeks back and started just doing a little more carnivore. So I was doing some goat cheese, sheep's milk cheese, which I already knew were safer for me, a little bit of honey, and a couple other things. But you know what? I've been drinking this honey water, and my fingers are swelling. I'm probably going to stop doing that. But I added some of those back in because I was missing something, and I was having a little trouble getting to the grocery stores when I needed to, as opposed to the way other people were buying their food on the trip. And I was like, you know what? I'm so dependent on the group and so a part of the group. I've got to manage this in a way that I can maneuver. So I'm grateful that I had bought some carne seca, which is dry beef with sea salt in it, before I left. I bought it off of Amazon. And I had 2 jars of beef tallow in the car with me, and I made an awful lot of pemmican with that. And I would do that again, but I would have about 5 bags of the beef, and I would have at least 4 jars of tallow to travel with. Would be better. But I maneuvered it, and that's why, because I'm trying to cure my MS. Because who wants it? You know. And I do think that the stress of the trip did affect me some. So, oh, I'm seeing some people are going, yeah, yes, he eats steak and water and salt. Yes, and that's the same. It's his daughter that started some of that. See you later. If I missed her, anyways. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's trust issues there. Yeah. Headed to Victorville, another place, and then an inch closer to the beach. There you go. Enjoy that. Okay, so I hope that explains some of that stuff. And we're, wow, almost 2 hours. Did I really just talk about diet that long? Woohoo! Okay. I think that I am going to, yeah, that honey. I have to be really careful. I found that the Manuka honey I do fine with, but some of the other honeys, not so much. And the more unfiltered they are, the worse they are. And this one is wildflower. And just while I've been sitting here, I'm all swollen up. And I know that. I know that's the honey. But I'd already said I needed to stop doing that. It's not the best for me. It's not horrible, but it's not the best. I mean, come on. I came from a family of diabetics, so it's probably not that good. So, yeah, I just don't want to take the Benadryl. I could do it. You're right, Shane. I'd rather have a cup of coffee than Benadryl. And I have had a couple cups of coffee, and I have been fine. So I think I need to be careful to try to get coffee that's as mold free as possible. But all right, I'm feeling like maybe we could slow this down, end this thing. You guys are probably tired. It's been a busy morning, and I'm gonna take a walk later and take some surveyor's tape with me and tie some knots on some trees that I want cut down on the road because I'm gonna get the. I should have my entry railroad ties for the gate should be here in a couple of days. And just simplifying everything so it's easier. I don't have the money for it right now. I would love to have one of the ranch style gates that swings, that's the steel pipe kind, like from Tractor Supply or something. But I don't have that in my budget right now. But I would really love to be able to put one of those on the gate, so I didn't have to think about it. I agree with you about that with Benadryl. And I don't know if you are aware of it, pseudonym, your name. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the old school medication for asthma and for allergies was black coffee. And I do have done a lot of research. So a lot of my research has been about historic kinds of medications and things because I didn't want to take what is pushed at us. And some of you, we found out in that 2019 thing time, my doctor who's here in St. John's, well, whatever, we found out that I'm allergic to ibuprofen. And that's a reality thing too. So okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. We will come back again next. We will come back again next Sunday at 9:30 Arizona time. Adjust it for your time. That way I don't have to do that piece of work. That gives you some responsibility. But I appreciate all of you that come out here to be part of our Keep Living Simply gang. And I really appreciate that you guys give me a focus to my weeks. It helps. You know, I get to get my rest for Sabbath and I come through that process and then I get to see you guys and then my week starts afterwards. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate your thoughts and prayers. Don't forget to pray for each other. Keep living simply so you can travel light and often, because in my humble experience, I find that traveling changes our perspective. And even now that I have a place I can come home to, my perspective changes me so much. And I just love what. And I just saw that I, for a second, was gone and I just came back. So I'm saying goodbye. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And, you know, we'll keep on keeping on and have a wonderful week. Get a hold of me if you need to. Y'all mostly know how. SimplyLesa@gmail.com, and whatever else. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I forgot. I didn't all the way forget, but you guys get it. Enjoy your week. Ciao. Whoops, wrong button. Yeah, I need that button. Ciao.